Howdy, all of you delicious people. I'm here today to review Run from 2020. So, I thought that this would probably be a movie that didn't have like big reveals. I thought it would be just a film that would just be about Chloe, who is to want to transition to go to college, and Diane would just go on and be very hesitant about it and just coming up with all kinds of reasons for her daughter not to exactly go to college. But then instead, we just have all these big drops and big reveals, and oh my god, all this craziness. Where I'm like, you know what? You could have gone in a much more in a much less like all these dropping kind of scenario kind of ways, and you really could have built up like a lot of suspense off of not much of anything, and that could have been the movie. But no, like we have to have these big, massive reveals and all these goofy things, which I just I was like, really? But I enjoy the drops. I enjoy this story because to me, this slowly but surely becomes like the Stephen King Misery kind of film, where we're rooting for Chloe to at some point go on and give us that ending, because the ending is the best payout out of this whole movie. I liked the ending. That ending was so good. So we have Diane, who is to give birth to a premature child. And in the very beginning of this movie, we have definitions of arrhythmia, hemochromatosis, that I guess is to deal with too much iron in the body, asthma, diabetes, paralysis. And so we are to see that Chloe is to seem to have all of these things and is to be dealing with all these things. And we have Diane, who is to have Chloe be a stay-at-home student to get her education, and is to now to want to go on to college and hope that she's getting letters after she is to apply to all these colleges. And so we have it toward Diane. It seems like Diane is to be the nicest mother and is really just like trying to be a normal mom. Then we find out that there's something up with this mom. We find out that Chloe is to realize that her entire life, one way or another, she's been lied to. I mean, lied to. And so, with that said, that's just the build of the movie of and also it's like an escape film, and it has all these elements that may just be enticing enough to some person to want to watch. And really the enticing thing, besides like all the stuff that I just built up to, really the enticing thing, it's that it's only like an hour and a half. It's an hour and 29 minutes. And so with that, like just a short movie would really just be the most enticing thing. Grading wise, I would just say that this movie, it's okay. Like it's a very just like, I think people could go on and say like it could be better than okay, but I was just like, like it was a good just wasted time of a film. Because once I started to get like where the movie was heading, I'm like, oh, let me guess. And then like things started to continue to build and build and build, and I'm like, okay, like really, sure. How is it that we've just gone on and had these things just work out for however long? Um, I guess like things have just miraculously. But so, with that said, yeah, let's just go into spoilers because really, for an hour and a half movie, and for this film, there isn't much to like go on and like really like try to give away anything in the cryptic like sense. I have to be very vague and whichever. So come with me if you like to go on and hear the spoilers about this film, hear the pen droppings of all these things. That's because that's when I was watching this movie, I was like, oh my god, wow. and but again, like I was just kind of more laughing at this film because I knew it was kind of like, oh, okay, here's where we're going. But still, it was just kind of like that man that dropping of just this bit of information. So with that said, I think it's about time to just go into spoilers. Let's double five this bad boy up. Because it's about that time to just go into spoiler time. Spoiler time. It's about that time to do spoil this movie. Let me know how you felt about Run 2020. Because I think it's about that time to just go into spoilers about it now. So, Diane prematurely gave birth to a child that had all these symptoms and had all these things that were to have given definitions of. And so, Diane goes on and is to check on her child. And the next thing we know, Diane is in this meeting with a number of other parents. And so this one lady is crying about her kid who is going off to college. And she, of course, is going on saying, like, well, who's going to tell him, like, when to take his medication? And who's going to tell him when to brush his teeth? And who's going to tell him this and that? So the meeting leader is to just kind of calm this woman and give her tissues and then just say, well, it seems like she's not the only one kind of dealing with this transitional moment. Diane's like, well, yeah, like I technically am going with that with Chloe, and like Chloe has started to apply to certain colleges, and like there might be some feelers out there, and we're just kind of testing the waters, and we're just gonna wait things out. And so the meeting leader is like, oh, okay, all right, well, all right, cool. Like so Diane is kind of like quickly wanting to also like shut some people up while uh and have them just kind of move on with someone else also. So Diane is to come home and consistently be getting the mail, and Chloe is to be rushing to the door, hoping that she'll go on and get this college thing telling her that she's to go on to so and so college. Diane's like, "Well, I'm sorry, like none of the college letters have come yet. Like, I'm sorry. Like, if anything, uh like I'm sure as soon as I get one of these letters, they're gonna go right into your hand." And Chloe's like, okay, like shouldn't they have come by now? And so Chloe is to keep trying to apply to these colleges and is to go on and try to put together this printer. And so Chloe is going on and taking these medications and taking inhalers and doing all of this. And so Chloe is to, of course, uh, really like these chocolates. And so Chloe, and I'm not sure if I'm going to get to all this like perfectly like the movie does, but I'm going to try to get to the like more of the important things. Because Chloe goes on with Diane, it's like, well, hey, how about we go to the movies? Because that's the only place that she really goes. Doesn't really seem like Chloe has friends that come over, or doesn't really seem like she has a boyfriend, sadly. To have eventually just be like, hey, good looking. Why? It was weird, it was goofy, but it was worth it. So Chloe is to go on, and I guess because she doesn't have an iPhone, she can't figure out how to work this printer. because I guess she has a very limited internet source. And so that kind of tells you, like, as well as Chloe is to also be homeschooled, and Diane is teaching her like chemistry and everything like that. And so Diane is a substitute teacher for this school, and Chloe's like, well, okay, like if Diane is to be like going to school, then somehow I'm going to be able to finally get to the mail. And so Chloe is to rush to get to the mail that day. And when Chloe is to open the door, all of a sudden Diane is right by the door and she's like, hey, yeah, like, yeah, I could, like, there's no mail for you today. Like, oh, I'm sorry. And so Chloe's like, what's going on here? Something's going on. Like, because Chloe is to see Diane's car, and Diane's car, like, the lights are flashing because the door is still open, as if like Diane was like flying to get to the mail and checking it, and like Chloe just found that very odd. So Diane at one point is to go on because Chloe is to like these little chocolate treats, as I guess she's to get them for like desserts and stuff like that. So at one point, Diane is to have these grocery bags and is to drop them off in the kitchen. And so while Diane is going on to do something, Chloe is to go through these bags and is to see this medication that's for her mother, and she's like, oh, like, all right. So Chloe is to go on and start getting this candy, and like, so Chloe then goes on and is to get ready for bed for that night, and Diane is to mention to Chloe that it seems that the medication that Chloe normally gets is to be drastically different now. And now it has these like little green and white pills. And Chloe is to look at this medication. Chloe's like, wait a minute, like, I thought that this was your medication, mother. And Diane's like, what do you mean? What? So Chloe's like, well, yeah, like I looked at the prescription and had your name on it. And Diane's like, no, like this was your prescription. And so all of a sudden we have Chloe, who is to then look at the prescription bottle, and yeah, it does have her name on it. And so she's like, huh, like maybe this is all just a mistake. But then Chloe starts to peel away the tape and notice that like Diane had scratched this stuff off, and she's like, uh-huh. So excuse me. So Chloe now wants to figure out this medication, and Diane is calling this pharmacist because she's so upset about this medication and wants to make it seem like she's doing something. So Chloe, because she's unsure about this medication from her own mother, that she is no longer taking it. She's just spitting it out like, yeah, I'm going to put this somewhere, I'm going to hide it away. And so, because she's like, yeah, this seems very odd. This seems very unlike my mother. And so, Chloe then is to, in the middle of the night, go on to go onto the internet and check what this certain medication is. And so she goes to this computer and is trying to type in what this medication was, and come to find out the internet doesn't work. And Diane, somewhere in the shadows, is just kind of looking on, like, So Chloe makes her effort to go all the way to this computer just to. Oh, no internet. So all of a sudden, we have Diane who's calling the internet people, whoever the internet people are, like, yeah, wait a minute, what? It's down? Like, how could that be? Like, I need this. And Chloe's like, oh, is the internet down? And Diane is like, well, yeah, how did you know that the internet was down? And Chloe is like, well, like last night I went on to try to kind of troubleshoot because my printer is still not working. And so I went on to just kind of look for like maybe I'm missing a part or missing something. And like, yeah, like couldn't find the answer because the internet was down. And Diana's like, I'm sure you were. I'm sure you were. In her brain, she was thinking that. So Chloe, while her mother is out doing gardening, Chloe is to decide to try to call this pharmacist. And the pharmacist is to know who this is and is to know it's Chloe. So Chloe hangs up the phone. So Chloe then, considering she's having problems like being able to call like 411 and just get certain things, Chloe just dials a random number, and some guy who is to possibly have a very familiar voice to some people, because the guy who does the Brooklyn Boy is actually Tony, the same guy, of course, who was to be Flash from the Spider-Man Tom Holland movies. And so I was like, oh wow, hey, great. So we have this Brooklyn boy who is on this phone and is talking to Chloe, and it seems like he's having like girlfriend troubles. And so Chloe's just desperately asking this guy, like, hey, can you just go on and can you just look up this medication? This name of it is this, and like, what do the pills look like? And so we have the guy saying that the pills are red. And Chloe's like, oh my god, what is this? What are these pills? And so now Chloe is just to be like, man, this is some sketchy crap. So Chloe used to go on and ask her mother, it's like, well, hey, like, how about we go to the movies? Like, how about we just go on and go to the movies? And Diane's like, okay, all right, sure. So they both go to the movies, and Chloe is to get out of the movie theater, say that she needs to go to the bathroom. So Chloe goes to the bathroom, and instead of going to the bathroom, she makes it across the street to this pharmacist. And Chloe's talking to this pharmacist, and they're like, oh, hey, yeah, Chloe. Like, this girl knows her, and as if, like, this girl has been consistently there getting these prescriptions. But I don't know how many pharmacists, like, unless this is a really small town, or, like, we just, like, I don't know, like, maybe this pharmacist just takes a personal interest in everybody. But so, Chloe is to go on and is to mention that she needs to know what this pill is. And the pharmacist is like, well, like, I don't know if I can give you this information if you don't know what it is. And because Chloe's saying, it's like, well, this is my mother's medication. And the pharmacist is like, yeah, patient confidentiality, I can't go on. And so Chloe's like, well, it's a scavenger hunt. It's like because Chloe's noticed that this girl likes to go on and do escape rooms. she's just like, yeah, it's a mystery. It's a mystery I need to solve about my mother's medication. And so the woman ends up like scrolling through. It's like, well, it doesn't seem like there's any medication for your mother, but it seems that there actually is medication for a dog that you have. And Chloe's like, wait a minute, what? Chloe doesn't have a dog. Chloe doesn't have one. So Chloe is saying, like, well, hey, like, this medication is for what? And so, like, the pharmacist is to mention that it's about, like, dog's legs and stuff like that. And so Chloe, of course, is asking this pharmacist, it's like, well, what would this do if this was given to a human? And the pharmacist would be like, well, it would make their legs numb. And boom, the first pen dropping, where we go on and find out that Chloe is to not actually be legitimately handicapped. That she's been drugged this whole entire time. And at some point, when she stops taking this medication, her legs eventually are going to start to move. Her feet are going to start to move. And she is going to have to go on and relearn how to walk again, because like years and years of just numbing down legs. So Chloe is at this moment now at this pharmacy where she's like, oh, oh. All of a sudden Diane is going to like, Chloe, what, Chloe? And so Diane is to rush into seeing where Chloe is, and Chloe is just mortified. Diane is like, "Oh, you need like, pharmacist, you need to get her this ice bucket. Like, I think she's in shock or something." So all of a sudden, Diane is to put this needle into Chloe's leg, and like, "Yeah, you're gonna go to sleep." So Chloe is to wake up back in her home and is to be locked in her room. It's like, wow, okay. So Chloe is to go on and pick the lock of her door to still find out that her door is like kind of just stuck to where she can't open it. And so Chloe's like, Mom. And so Chloe is desperately like trying to figure out how to like talk to her mother, trying to like figure out how like Chloe can go on and like convince her mother to come and see her. And so Chloe goes on and is to figure something out here, that she needs to go on and climb through her roof to try to get into this other room to possibly try to either use this. She uses all this like extension cord, and she's holding on to this water, and she has this one device where she breaks this glass and is to go on and spit water and have this glass break. And so Chloe goes on and just kind of slides her way into this window, where then like we're looking at the phone, and the phone cord is cut on this phone, and so Chloe's not going to be able to use the phone. So Chloe is to realize that she's having an asthma attack. So Chloe is to kind of slide as much as she possibly can to make it back to her room, to go on and kind of or adjust her door to where Chloe can get back into her room, where she can get her inhaler, but then also get her wheelchair so she can try to get the heck out of there. So we have Chloe, who is to have this stair lift, so she can get like down, up and down. And so we also find that Chloe, when she tries to use the stair lift is broken because Diane was to go on and rip all these cords out, and so Chloe used to look at that and she's like, "Oh." I'm like, where is like the mother the whole entire time this is going on? What the where is Diane at? So Chloe is to now to get desperate. So Chloe is to basically chuck her wheelchair down the stairs, but then she's to also go on and chuck herself down these stairs. And that's, of course, when she finally falls down the stairs. This is the first time when Chloe can see her toes moving. And Chloe's like, I can move my feet. So Chloe is to make it to her wheelchair and is to now try to get the heck out of her house. And Chloe is kind of very wounded. She has some like scrapes and whatever from falling down her own flight of stairs, which again is always the best part about a movie ever. Just because the effect and just like the whole like thing of it probably hurting like a motherfucker for anybody who is to try that or whatever. So Chloe goes on to at some point just try to like wheelchair herself through this road and is to meet up with this mailman. Because Chloe is to take her wheelchair and is to kind of drive it in the middle of the road and hope that this mailman doesn't crash into her. And so Chloe is to explain everything to this mailman, and the mailman like believes Chloe. He knows who she is also, and so the mailman's like, "Oh, okay, I'll believe you. Like I'll trust what you're saying here." So all of a sudden now Diane is to now see both Chloe and the mailman, and so the mailman is talking to Diane, and Diane is saying like, "Oh, is my daughter hurt?" And the mailman's like, "Well, wait a minute, hold on, like she's saying some things, and like I have to like take what she's saying, and I'm taking it as truth." And so Diane's like, "Well, I have to see my daughter. She might be hurt." The mailman's like, "Well, no, no." So we have it where where Diane is like, "Well, like you don't know what I've been through with her. You don't know all the things that I've had to do." And Diane is saying, "It's like, well, like if you guys are going to go on and go to the hospital or wherever, like, can I just at least follow you?" And the mailman's like, "There is something just so there is something just so sketchy about this." So the mailman is to now tell Chloe, it's like, "Well, hey, like, where do you want to go? To the hospital or to the police?" And Chloe's like, "Oh my god, like this guy's gonna help me." And so the mailman goes on and is to put Chloe into the back of this this mailman car. So the mailman is mentioning about like the letters and everything like that, and like hey, like if anything comes rocking, like so the mailman is to want to kind of close the back of his truck, and Diane is to go and inject this guy to knock him out, and realizing that Chloe is basically effed here, as Diane is to have in her back seat, like she's probably been preparing for this for I don't know how long. She has like all these needles and she has a gun and all these things. So Chloe is to now be in this basement where she of course has this like staircase going down, and Chloe's now just in this basement just kind of stuck here, even to the point where her wheelchair is like chained to a part of the room to where she can't really get to the room all that well. So we now have Diane who's just dragging around this mailman, and we find out that Diane is to have killed this man, and Diane is to have blood on her shirt. Like it comes into focus, and you can kind of see the spot, and then Diane's like, "Oh, well, that guy's okay." Nah, I don't think so. So Chloe is to eventually want to get to certain items that it seems that her mother has been storing away. And so Chloe, because she can't go anywhere with her wheelchair, Chloe just starts to just get out of this wheelchair and go on and drag herself to these items, these kind of pictures and all these kinds of assortment of things. So Chloe is to realize that when she was really young, that Chloe could actually walk. And she's seeing pictures of her when she was much younger. It's like, oh my god. So Chloe starts going on and thumbing through some of this paperwork here, and is to see there is a birth certificate for Chloe, and it's for her being alive for 2 hours and X amount of minutes. Chloe's like, huh? So Chloe all of a sudden is to see another piece of paper where there was this couple who had lost their child. So now Chloe's putting the pieces together. So, and the video also does that also. So Diane is to give birth to a premature child, and that premature child was to die. And so after this death of this child, Diane is to be walking away with this child regardless, but then she's to be like, well, since I couldn't get a child, I'm going to take one. And Diane is to see young Chloe there in this hospital, and so Diane just takes this baby and is to just call her Chloe and say that it's hers. So, like the big, huge, massive reveal at the end of this, that Chloe was never even Diane's kid. So, when Diane is to finally make it down there, and Diane is getting so like stressed out and so freaked out about what she's gonna do, she's looking and trying to research like household neurotoxins and stuff like that to possibly like do something that is going to harm Chloe, so that way Diane can get like the results that she needs to just somehow keep Chloe alive, but also turn around and do some harm to her. So Chloe is to look at all these papers and all these things, and when Diane is to come down there, Chloe's like, so you're not really my mother. And Diane's like, well, what do you mean? Like, I raised you and this, and like Chloe's like, no, like, so Diane is just to go on and mix all this stuff together and is to like concoct this injection. And so Chloe is to rush this room and lock this door. And Chloe is to find this bottle of this medication and it says do not consume, or like call 911 immediately. So when Diane is to find the key and unlock this door, I'm like, like I'm now here and I can do whatever I want. Chloe is to take this medication, and before she does that, she tells her mother, it's like, or she tells Diane that you need me alive. So Chloe is to take this stuff And so Diane is to rush her to the hospital. And so the doctors are, of course, telling Diane, it's like, well, we need to go on because I guess, like, considering there may be some suspicion of suicide, that we're going to need to go on and have her go and see like a mental health doctor or therapist or whatever, and just kind of like assess what's going on here. So we have it where Chloe is unable to talk. She has this kind of tube through her mouth, and we have it where Chloe like is having this inability to kind of uh, move her hands, and so she is to kind of ding the nurse as Diane is kind of looking on, and then she kind of runs off for a minute. So Chloe is to ding for this nurse. So the nurse is like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" So Chloe is to like want something to write with, but this nurse is like, "Well, I'm sorry, I can't give you one of my pens, but here's a crayon." So Chloe is to try as best as she can to write something, and then all of a sudden we have a cold blue, and the nurse is rushing off to go on to a much more like needed patient. And so that, of course, leads Diane to rush to get to Chloe, and is to take this tube out and is like telling her like breathe and like like so. Diane is putting Chloe in a wheelchair, getting her ready for them to just get out of here. As we have Diane, who's kind of hiding the fact that Chloe is technically like tied to this chair and whichever. So Diane and Chloe are rushing out of this hospital, and so the nurse is to come back in this room and kind of walk you, be like, "Hey, was this girl like removed from this room?" And they're like, "Well, no." So the nurse is to go on and see the paper that Chloe is to write, and or had wrote, and it said the word mom on it. Nothing else, just the word mom. So this nurse is like, maybe. So the nurse, because considering this patient is not here, we go on and we had Diane, who really just wanted to take her like daughter home anyways. So we have security guards who are looking for Chloe, and we of course have Diane bringing Chloe, and is to notice like the only thing that they have available is like a thing of stairs, or because the escalator is broken. So like they couldn't have found an elevator. Seems a little weird to just not have an elevator, but I guess that is what it is. So right here we have it where Diane is just tempted at this point to just push Chloe now down these flight of stairs to try to rush them out of here. And all of a sudden, Diane is to realize that she can't move the wheelchair. And Diane is like, "Well, why can't I move the wheelchair? Like, maybe there's something stuck. I don't know." So Diane is adjusting things and noticing that Chloe's legs are to stop this wheelchair from moving. And Chloe's to finally be able to speak, and she says, "I don't need you anymore," or something along those lines. So all of a sudden, we now have Diane, who's whipping out this gun with these security guards. And so the security guards are trying to tell her, like, "Hey, miss, like, put down the gun." And here's the thing, like, these security guards just shoot Diane in the arm, and Diane, because she was shot in the arm, just falls down these flights of stairs. And so now we transition to 7 years later. So Chloe is to be driven to this hospital where Diane is located. And so Chloe, it seems, is to still need the use of a wheelchair, but Chloe can also, with a cane, be able to walk. I'm like, oh, great! So this is cool. So Chloe is walking through this metal detector and then is to sit back down in this wheelchair. And Chloe is making her way to Diane, who is in this hospital. And so Chloe is now telling Diane everything about her new life. And I'm like, yeah, this is great. And so Chloe is now having Diane do the exact same thing that Diane was doing to Chloe. And so Chloe had, by the end of this, spit out these specific pills that were to have gone on and numb Chloe's legs. Chloe is now doing this to Diane, and Chloe's like, well, yeah, I think I need to go on and I need to leave you, Mom. But before I do that, I'm going to have you down all these pills. And so Diane's like, huh? And so it's like, yeah, like you're going to get your comeuppance. And then the movie's going to end. And I'm like, wait a minute. Like, they didn't like tell us that Chloe was to like re-meet up with her real parents or anything like that. Like, I guess maybe Chloe was to just go on and go to college and do what she was to do and meet all and have all these friends and whatever. And so that must have just been it for this film. So with that said, yeah, like that's the whole reveal part of things. And yeah, I think it still would have been cool if we would have had Chloe with her actual parents. And like, yeah, it's still just so good to have finally seen you, Chloe. And like, we spent so much time together now. And why are you going back to Diane? And like Chloe could have just been like, well, it's unfinished business or something like that. Some kind of like last like go-to line, and then they could have ended the movie. And like that would have been like the most poetic kind of thing about this. But I don't know, like I don't. Let me know in the comments below how you could have probably felt that this movie could have ended if you went on and saw it. But yeah, but I thought like the ending of this was like, yeah, Chloe is going to seek revenge on Diane, and but like I don't know if even like the revenge was really good enough, but still, it was pretty dang close to just torture this woman with the information of like, yeah, like I'm moving on and everything's great. And so yeah, like so with that said, I'm going to just get out of here so I can go on and call this one a day. So thank you for watching this. I really do appreciate it. I'm gonna get out of here. Bye buddy. Bye buddy.